Okay, so here we go with the third part of our four-part series on research methods. Remember, we just talked about the scientific approach or the scientific method. Now we're going to focus on the interpretive method. And I really want to emphasize one method is not better than the other. You'll see after our discussion of the interpretive method that they're really complementary, right? There's strengths and weaknesses to both, and they're really designed to complement each other. Just like in the last video, I'm going to ask you a couple times to pause this video and reference some material on our course Canvas page, so just a heads up that that's coming. And here we go, right? The interpretive framework. While many sociologists rely on the scientific method, another is the interpretive framework. And I really want to go back to, sorry to click through all these things, but if you remember, we did a side-by-side, right? The scientific method and its goals and purpose. The interpretive method has kind of different goals. Again, complementary, just different. So while this is focused on objectivity, right, and, exploring relationships between variables, the interpretive method is really designed to focus on how are individuals and people experiencing the world, right? How do they experience it? Why do they experience it that way? And it's really more about in-depth knowledge that's more descriptive, right? So we're not focused so much on what's the relationship, but how are people experiencing the world? And in that way, data tends to be more qualitative, not quantitative. And we'll talk about that. Remember that video you watched? And then they use some different tools, right? Interviews, fieldwork. So we're going to sort of focus over here now in this third part of the series, right? So while systematic, this approach doesn't follow the hypothesis testing model, right? It doesn't seek generalizable results in the scientific approach. Instead, an interpretive framework, sometimes referred to as an interpretive perspective, seeks to understand social worlds from the point of view of participants, leading to in-depth knowledge. So I half joke, sometimes it's referred to as the sort of hippie, touchy-feely perspective, and I'll be honest, it's the one I tended to use in my research, but it's an interesting and very different approach. And they use really different tools, right? So remember, in the scientific approach, we used experiments and surveys, right? Here we use different. Instead of surveys, we do a different kind of interview. Different kind of survey. We do interviews, right? So instead of having people check boxes, we actually sit down and talk to them, right? And there's some strengths and weaknesses of that. Strengths is kind of the opposite of the weaknesses of the survey approach, right? Strengths is you can get context, you can really get a sense of where people are coming from, why they're responding the way, you can ask follow-up questions, right? Of course, a big weakness of interviews is that they take forever. So while you can easily survey 1,000 people, it's not so easy to interview 1,000 people. So the big drawback for interpretive research tools in general is that you cannot generalize your results. Your sample sizes are going to be a lot smaller, right? You could maybe interview 30 college students, but you can't take your results from those 30 interviews and apply them to all college students. So an important drawback. Another tool they use is fieldwork, right? Actually going out into the field, and we don't mean the cornfield, we mean going out into the world and actually interacting with people in different ways, right? So ethnography, we have direct observation versus participant observation. And really both of these is sort of people watching. I don't know if you're like me, but people watching is kind of fun, right? There's good people watching places around, right? Sundial Bridge, the mall, Winco at 3 in the morning. So that's direct observation, right? Sitting there and just sort of watching. Participant observation, as we'll talk about, is different. It's not just watching, it's actually getting involved in the behavior of the people that you're interested in. Another type of fieldwork is case studies. This is generally what happens when there's not a whole lot in the population that you're interested in. So for example, feral children, we'll be talking more about this when we get into socialization, but feral children is the term referred to those children who for some reason have grown up with very little or no social interaction, right? Usually profound abuse, neglect. Thankfully, there aren't hundreds of thousands of these on the planet, so we tend to only have certain cases of them, right? So another type of fieldwork would be a case study. Now, if you want to, there's an optional video on feral children, kind of introduces some case of feral children that I've posted on Canvas. So if you want to pause this video now and go ahead and watch that video, you're welcome to. Otherwise, keep going with us. Okay, so we've talked about a lot of different research tools, the scientific tools, the interpretive tools. I wanted to show you a resource in your course textbook that might be helpful when it gets close to studying for the exam. If you look on page 46 of your textbook, right, it's page 52 on the PDF, but it's 46 on there, you'll see this handy little sort of comparison chart, right? So here's all our different methods, our different tools. Here's the advantages, here's the disadvantages. So this might be a useful resource when you're studying for exam 1. Okay, so you remember we've been talking about the strengths and weaknesses of research tools. There is no perfect research tool. So a way researchers try to get around the weaknesses of a research tool is through triangulation. Pretty much what it sounds like. It's the idea of using more than one research tool to try to make up for the weaknesses in all of them, right? So a good research study may use interviews, participant observation, and an online survey, right, to try to make up for the weaknesses of each of these approaches. So triangulation is really important. When you're reading an article or a study and you're going to go make a big life decision on that, make sure that they've triangulated, quote unquote, their data, that they've used more than one research tool. Generally, research that just uses one research tool, you need to be a little nervous about. Okay, so in terms of a specific type of interpretive tool, participant observation, I had you read that article, that first chapter in that book Nickel and Dimed on Getting By in America. This is such a great example of participant observation. So Barbara Ehrenreich, remember, was really interested in can and how do people live off of minimum wage jobs? Is it possible? Now, she could have interviewed people, she could have surveyed people, but she also decided she wanted to actually try to live off of minimum wage jobs for a year, right? So this is an example of participant observation. What I need everyone to do now is to go ahead and pause this video and watch the short video that she made on her experiences doing participant observation while trying to live on minimum wage. This link is posted on Canvas. When you're done, come back to me. Okay, so this is the end of our third video. Our fourth video is going to explore ethical concerns on research, so make sure you check that out.